Definitely a great time to be alive. First off, I just want to say thank you for everyone who attended. This is the Black Wall Street in Lansing. This is huge for us. This is like, got me very, very, very excited. I'm nervous, but I'm prepared. Okay? So, basically, I just want to salute Mr. Joe Ferguson, man, because, I've heard a lot about him. I know a lot about him. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson, for even reaching out to the Black Wall Street of Lansing. Let me give you guys a little brief history on the Black Wall Street of Lansing. I am the founder. My name is Leo Brown, and I have my co-founders, which is Ashiki Guy and Ishmael Muhammad, who's over to my left. We started this organization in November 2020, and I used to do a lot of think tanks, at my home, just to get entrepreneurs together, networking, sharing ideas, and good vision, to share ideas about Black economics here in Lansing. So basically, what it is about my organization is we gotta be together for change, and I'm not just saying all Black folks. It's people, humanity. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to change the consciousness of the minds of people, and I wanna work with anybody who wants to build economics here for us. So, on that note, I'm not gonna stay up here long. I'm really not, because I wanna hear what Mr. Ferguson has to say, okay? But I wanna give some shout outs to some people that's here, like Sarah Anthony. Thank you for showing up, State Representative. Okay. I think the mayor is in the house. I don't know, I haven't seen him yet, but they say he should be arriving shortly, Andy Shore. Also, Ed Harding, where's he at? Okay, Ed Harding, president of Civic Bank. Okay. Yes, Dr. Forrest Carter, Mr. Carter, there you go. Well, sir, he's a developer as well, so this is the room you guys need to be in. So if you're not here, you're really missing out on a great thing, Also, we have Mr. Terry, who's the owner and who gave us this opportunity to have this tonight, Mr. Terry of Ocean Beach. Yeah, Tim Lloyd, yeah. The connector, Tim Lloyd. Thank you, brother. Thank you. You see the queens always gotta check their king. There you go, sister. There you go. Tim Lloyd, thank you so much. I salute you too, brother.
Good evening, how's everybody doing? I hope you're ready to be like a sponge and soak up some of this wisdom that I'm sure our brother will be bringing our way. It's not every day we get a chance to learn from a living legend. And those of you who are in business, you know how hard it is. Those of you who are...
It's interesting, I asked Leo, should I stand or sit? And he said, how old are you? Before I could say anything, he said, you sit. Well, thank you, Leo.
Oh no, hey, go ahead, be great.
Well, two things. I'm honored and excited to be here today. And I'm honored based on this invitation. And Leo, I'm really excited about your organization and what you're going to do, not trying, going to do in Lansing to have us really. I used to be a school teacher and a recreation leader, and we used to have recess and we have sack races, and the three-legged sack races. And the one thing, you can't be successful if you're in coordination and working with each other in a three-legged sack race. And that's the same thing we're talking about here today. That the only way that we can really move on and do something is we do it together. And that's why I'm really honored to be here this evening. And try to say some things that make sense, which I know will be. Three of my daughters are here. My three daughters, Jennifer, Stacy, and Dory. And so I named all of them last word. So I better make certain that I say something that really makes sense. And I want to just say this to everyone here, that my degree was in elementary education. And people are surprised when I tell them that. But no one here should be surprised. I majored in education because I didn't see anyone who looked like me in business. And I majored in education, wanted to make certain I could get a job. And those days have passed now, that we can be in business and doing those things, especially if we work with each other and share values. And I wish Forrest Carter was here today. He was here earlier. And I'm working closely with Forrest in Detroit. Forrest, are you here? Carter, stand up, please.
I haven't left yet.
Okay, there he is. Well, I thought he had already left because he walked up to me and really didn't figure that I was going to say anything that made any sense. So he said, well, Joe, great to deliver your speech, and I believe, Hurley, I'm going to have to go. So I just felt that he was gone. I didn't know he was just setting up in case I could say anything good. But here's the thing. I'd like to have Forrest come here for a second, please. I'm going to tell you who he is. He's a professor, Dr. Forrest Carter at Michigan. And a year ago, he came to me with an idea in Detroit. And that is building an innovation center. And it was different than when you read the paper about what Michigan's doing or what Gilbert or everyone else is doing. And then he went into the community and he met with the NACP, the Black Business Association, a number of groups, and found all of them to where we were not going to be an invasion, but an engagement. And so, of course, and I really, not that I'm not going to say anything, but I really think, I want you to tell everyone here, it's really important to this invasion center and the mounting thing that we're working together. We have you, we have Urban Johnson, myself, and we have some other major people who are playing, we're going to make a difference. So Forrest, will you please tell everyone what that is? Because this is what we're going to do here in Lansing too, okay?
My apologies, only in the sense of not being dressed for the occasion, but again, I'll do anything for Joe, so here it is. He brought me in to really his and Magic vision, and I was able to share some things with respect to a community using the resources of those outside the community to uplift that community. And so I spent over 2.5 years engaging with a wide sector of everything from faith-based, entrepreneurial associations, neighborhood associations. And I think the point he was trying to make is coming together. There's a certain power and force from building things from the bottom up. At the time, there were any number of developments going on in Detroit. All of them were downtown. None of them were asked for by the community. And so we wanted to go in and be invited. I have a saying that even when you're delivering groceries to a needy family, you still knock on the door and ask if you can come in. So even if you're trying to bring help, it's only a matter of respect to the community that you still ask and say, what do you need? Can we come in? And so we're still engaged. We're trying to convince the powers that be to help us make our vision a reality. But you guys are in for a treat. Pick up every little nugget, every major event that you can imagine over the past 20 years in terms of the Black political movement, the Black economic movement. He's given me a little story where he was behind the scenes. So just sit back and enjoy it. I'm going to turn it back over to Joel, but his idea of unity and coming together as a community is at the foundation of everything we're trying to do right now in Detroit. So thank you.
he's an extremely unassuming giant, because this development we're going to do in Detroit, and as we've got legs to it already, and we've had a number of people trying to be part of this, and we feel that we're going to make a difference there. But you here are going to make a difference here in Lansing. And so I'm just happy that I could speak and just give everything I could say that could help. I've got this major development we're doing here in Lansing now, the Red Cedar. And I just, when I got brochures to pass them out, that you could just all glance at them and see what we're trying to, maybe written by the Red Cedar here in Lansing. And we're doing that major development there, where we're there probably the only development in the state where we also have in our contract about, it says right in our contract with the city and the state that people like us have to have jobs in it. So that's the one thing that we feel real good in. Sarah Anthony, are you here?
Right here.
Okay, well, Sarah Anthony, she's a unassuming worker and leader, and she really does a job for Lansing and for the state of Michigan. And I know when we had hiccups trying to make this thing and get our financing straight and everything else, we called Sarah Anthony. And Sarah Anthony just used her leadership. And she's one of those people, and I guess you can say this about any of us in politics or any people in business, that if you have influence and don't use it, then why have it? And she's one who uses it. And Sarah, I just want you to at least, I want us to acknowledge you. Like I said, my career started off as a grade school teacher because I couldn't get a job. I knew someplace else. But the one thing I learned in education and being a teacher, and I want everyone here to hear what I'm saying loud, because if you have questions, I hope I get them, because I want to say one thing that's very important. The only bad question is the one you don't ask. And I want everyone to hear that. And walking in, I had some individuals talk to me about buying some property and real estate and do whatever. And I told them, I think it'd be great, but one thing that most people who lose money in real estate is being too early as opposed to too late. And anyone who tries to sell you something and tell you what it's going to be worth, then the next question is, why are you selling this to me now? And second of all, if they end up do sell it, you can't pay for what the property will be worth, but only what it is worth, because you want to gain on the appreciation yourself. And you don't want that appreciation to be what you're hoping to have just to get your money back and to be even if you're going to be successful. And so I just was talking to individuals here today about that. And the one thing that I tried to do very hard, which is kind of easy, I'm in charge, and I don't let my secretary screen my phone calls. And there's one reason I won't let her ask, who are you and what do you want? Because I want folks who call and need something to feel welcome and not feel that it's a chore to talk to me. And so that's why if you do call my office, and yes, she can say who it is, but she can't say, who are you and what do you want? I want individuals to call me, and I'm in a position where I can be helpful. Oh yes, there's a question, thank you.
I can listen to you all day, and I hope that we get an opportunity to talk again. We have some questions that we'd like to ask you. You mentioned earlier that you went to Michigan State and you graduated in your education. And one of the questions was, how did you go from elementary education to real estate development to being what I call a media mogul? What was that transition?
Well, I was a, Dick Lipscomb, who's passed a few years ago, the two of us formed the Blackhawks football team. And so we were co-founders of the football team. And we had all these young people. I also, the year, Lansing had a playground program, and I was playground director at Main Street School. And I just had a ton of young people who I'm still close to, and they still come to see me. And they had a riot in Lansing one year. And I went out on the streets in the middle of the riot. And because I was a college graduate, the powers that be in the city accepted me in the leadership I had roll out there, roll in the streets of everyone. And then I discovered, as we're negotiating with the city, that they were just playing us and pacifying us. So I decided then to run for city council. And I ran for city council. Not a lot of people knew me, but I was raised by my mother, who was when my parents divorced when I was 7, and she raised my 2 brothers and me, and she was a past head of NACP and everything else. And people thought so much of her, they voted for me. And so I got elected to the city council. And I got there, and I learning real estate and just listening. And they rejected public housing in Lansing. And the developer was trying to, he's at a council meeting, and he heard me talking, and he hired me to go out and get business for him. And at the time, all the real estate where there was any financing for it was for nonprofits. And so the black folks, the real estate deals that we were having were nonprofits. Now, America was not built on nonprofit, but anyway, I was there for him. And sitting there, kind of through osmosis, I kind of learned a lot about real estate being in closings, and people talk past it. Well, then he decided that what he was paying me, that I wouldn't work that much. And so he owed me a lot of money. And I said, well, send it to my house every Friday, the check to my wife. And 3 of the reasons why I wanted him to send the money to help raise my family. And so but he had a deal, he had a project in the pipelines, and it cost $250,000 to get it. And so I didn't tell him it was there, but I turned around and went for it, and I don't know, I pre-sold it for $350,000. And that's how I got started, because I understood the numbers of the programs. And so that's how I got started.
You pre-sold it.
And then, yeah, I did. So anyway, and then I read the program that the state had on housing. And they had a program that was the government that they would put up 80% if you put up 2%. And so I read the program like I told her, but I didn't do anything. I just read how the rules were playing, and that's what I'm saying here today. That one way that we can all be successful is find out how they're keeping score, and what people are looking for, and that's even up to the point of how you dress, how you talk, who you have with you, And like when the Sexton basketball team won the state title, and they invited me to be the speaker. And I asked all the kids on the team, I said, you guys got any summer jobs? One said, oh yeah, they raised their hand. I said, well, if you're going for an interview, what do you got to have for certain to impress people to interview? They said, anyone know? Tom said, I said, well, a belt. It's kind of an easy thing, but no one wants to hire anyone whose pants are at their ankles. I mean, and there's all the cases. I was trying to make the point. If you want to go to the next step, you find out how you have to present yourself and how to keep score and how everything else is happening. And so that's what I tried to do, was tell everybody. And so I knew you know, so when I got into the real estate thing, I found out how they're keeping score, and that's kind of interesting. Have anyone here taken a business class? Okay. Well, I lectured the kids that took business in Michigan, and the one thing that all of them were told, that the way you control the business situation is to get them to come to your office on your turf. And I love that because I negotiated against people who went to those classes, and I killed them. Because the one who's going to control a meeting is not the geography, it's the agenda. If you go to someone's place and they're working off the agenda that you put together, and you're controlling how the flow of the information, how the thing will go, and you're going to beat those people who did well in geography every time. Yes. And so all I'm saying is that in here we keep score. Now what we have in here today is the scorekeepers, because your organization here is really not the past that you made reference to, but it's the future. And having people with this kind of enthusiasm who want to bond with everyone and bond with the community, and their main goal is not themselves, but everyone here and their families and everything else, is that we can all be extremely successful when we recognize this. And so I just want to really thank you for inviting me here today, but really thank you for what your goals are and what you're trying to do and going to do to make Lansing and make our community a much better place, okay? And so I'm just saying this to all of you, that I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you have right now, and then I'll say something to finish up, okay?
I got another one here for you. Sure. You were speaking about your business deals. What business deal are you most proud of and why?
Boy. I was preparing today. I didn't plan on this question.
I know there's so many to think about, but...
Well, I think really is Capitol Commons. All of you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Is to turn that area around and really work to make that area more livable for those of us who live in that area, who lived in that neighborhood in the past. And I felt that was a foundation thing. And the main thing that I wanted to do was to there, which I hope I've been successful in our other apartments and buildings, that we maintain them. Because when I grew up, they were the big word that the white community had. We couldn't sell any of us houses because we wouldn't keep the house in the neighborhood up, you know, and that. So that's one of the goals, and I'm very proud of that being successful. Although I got to do you a little sidebar now. I got a little aggressive early because the area was extremely rough, and so, you know, I guess maybe I'm good. So I hired 2 guys to manage that building and keep track. So I'm at a city council meeting one day, and right was we're leaving our afternoon meeting, and it said, so-and-so bank was robbed, and in there, the head of the bank was shot and killed. So on the way from there, I go back over to the Capitol Commons there, and these 2 guys were in their robes, and they owed me some money, and I walked in there and I said, hey, so-and-so and so-and-so, what about the money you owe me? I said, oh yeah, we got it, we'll pay you later. I found out that evening, those were the 2 guys who robbed the bank. And so I hired some guys to kind of clean the area up, but I didn't plan on, you know, that they were that proficient. But yes, Terry, Mayor.
Mayor Short.
Well, I'm gonna say this to you, Mayor Short, Andy.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? Andy came one day to me and they think, and I gotta tell you about that rascal. He comes one day And he's talking to me. I said, Andy, why do you look like a horse or a zebra? He said, what do you mean? I said, why is your face long? And he said, well, I just out here and I was in this parade and these people were heckling me and they were howling at me and saying names at me and everything, blah, 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 blah. I said, Andy, let me tell you one thing. You know, and not that I don't have folks after me at times. One thing I want you to learn and understand, what you should keep track of and feel very important to you is how the people who know you feel about you, as opposed to people who don't even know who you are and what they're saying and doing. And I said, so I would just focus on those of us who really know you and know you're trying to do what's best for the community, and that's how you've got to keep score. Yep. So here's the Mayor Andy Short.
Like a 10-minute break, so I literally said I'm going to run out. I got to see Joel because he's telling stories. If I don't get to hear Joel's stories, then it's just not a fun day. But just thank you all for letting me say hi real quick. It is an honor to be here. Thank you for doing this Black Wall Street of Lansing. I think this is awesome. I think it's a great idea. So whatever I can do to help, please let me know. But just thank you for welcoming me. And thank you, Joel.
We know you've had a lot of success in business. I mean, I think we all know that. That's pretty obvious. What has been your biggest obstacle in business, and how did you overcome it?
God, that's a little while. In the end, I had trouble initially, people believing what my dream and what my idea was. And so I have to go through a number of extra changes to convince and sell someone what we're talking about. It really makes sense. And it's kind of though, once you can get established, it's kind of like someone's talking about football teams and basketball teams cheating. Well, Tom Izzo doesn't have to cheat. Nick Saban is not Alabama. Because once you can reach a certain level, instead of you having to go chase and get people end up chasing you. You know, and so I'm saying that one of the key things is if you can, whatever degrees of success you can ride at whatever arena you're moving into, and then you can feed off of that. But it's also the same thing about people. If we're all in here together, that people, we can feed off of each other. In other words, if you're trying to build apartments or building something else, you don't go after your competitor because you're drinking out of the same trough. You really work with each other and share. Then you really are strengthening each other and doing well. And so I'm saying that those are just certain rules that I've learned in the past.
But I hope y'all taking notes. That's a big one. That's very powerful right there. In business, you ever been disappointed? Disappointed.
Oh,
How has that affected your business, your interaction?
I don't mean to say this, but I haven't had too many disappointments. I mean, because I try to look over them and just going. I know when I started TV business, though, I got very lucky because I recognized that, what the problem was, that the audience and what you had to do and how much it cost to do it. So and the news was very expensive to do. So I went to Detroit and convinced Channel 7 that I would pay them a certain percentage of my profits, but I could get their news for nothing. And so it was really good because I had no expense and I was getting their news and everything else for nothing. So I recognized, and so when I went to sell the station, the guys who were buying it, they thought I was crazy. But it was different. It was a public company. And so it wasn't their money really. And so they turned around and paid me more than they should have. And they put the news on, and then all of a sudden, nobody's watching their news, just like I do. But I knew ahead of time because it was my money. So you love, I'm gonna say one other thing here. The one way to really be great successful in some parts of this real estate, other is if you can be negotiating with people who's not their money, you're gonna do pretty good. And what I'm saying, there's just a lot of public money out there, and there's a lot of folks who have this money, and it's not this, so they're not paying anywhere near the attention that all of us here in the room are. You know, we all pay attention to what we have and what we have to do. But I gotta tell you this, all your questions are very good. and you couldn't prepare for them either. Thank you. I like that.
Thank you very much. We just want to get the knowledge that you have. Because, you know, I mean, a lot of times we see people in our midst and we hear their name, we never get to connect with them to really learn from them. And you doing this really is like, it's really a very gracious act on your part.
Let me say something right now to you. My phone number in the office. I want to find a way to your organization to leave my phone numbers, how folks want to see me later that you can contact me. Okay? And I don't want to be one and done if it means that there's some individuals that are working at something that I can mentor them in. You know, because I happen to believe it's not heaven if you're there by yourself.
Good one.
So I'm just saying that these are things that none of us should be, and it'd be just awful to all of a sudden you're someplace and you make people who aren't there uncomfortable. Okay, and so I just want to tell you that I mean what I'm saying, that my office, that we don't screen the calls, we hear what you have to say. And if we can help you. And I learned this when I first got into politics. And I was the first black to be elected in Lansing, the youngest person at the time. And an old politician met up with me. He said, you know, you could have a great career in politics if you know how to say yes or no, but not maybe.
Say it again, Bill.
You have to know how to say yes or no, but not maybe. And so when people are coming in and you're talking to them, and you tell them the truth, that, you know, I mean, a guy called me and he wanted a certain business, and it just made no sense, you know. And I told him no. You know, and this proposal was just ridiculous. And so I told the person, why don't you go to a bank? And he said, well, I already been to the bank. The bank turned me down. He said, okay. And there's about 6 guys with him. He said, well, what about you? I said, no, I can't go for this. This makes no sense. And the guy looked at me and he said, that's the problem with you. You forgot where you came from. And I said, well, I'll tell you the truth. I remembered, but I'm not going back. So, you have to be real, you know. And so if you're not going to be real and can't break something down, then that's a little sign. You got to tell folks where they are and why what they're saying doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Okay? And so I would be doing a disservice if any of these young people call me and they want to get into real estate or whatever, and I give them a song and dance and pie in the sky. And that's why I'm saying that I'm not interested in this conversation today, and I don't want to be one and done, but I also want if you make my numbers available. And so I'm very comfortable, because I started off, we didn't get our first car until my mother till I was 21, and she got it for it. We didn't have it. And I remember I was up in Vegas with Gregory and Bill Cosby. We were playing cards and box and all that. So me and him, and he's getting started off, I'm getting started off, and we were having dinner and telling jokes and stories, and I'm not being modest, but I was kicking his tail. and so we're done jokes and stories. So then he got angry, and he said, "Well, okay, so you got me there, but I'm gonna tell you this. I came up from Philadelphia, and at least in Philadelphia, we had lasting side effects in our community. And you grew up in Lansing, Michigan." I said, "Yep, I grew up on Chelsea Street." I said, "Everyone had the same thing on Chelsea Street, nothing." I said, "But we played football with either newspapers tied together or oatmeal box." And he said, "How is that a lasting side effect?" And I said, "To this day, none of us are good punters." I said, if you ever tried to kick an oatmeal box, you can see why. But I'm just saying that you gotta learn to recognize your audience for where you are. But I'll stop right there unless you have a question.
Yeah, I got any questions. Let's look more like local. What impact? We want to kind of, talk about the importance of economic development, as we know that the black community is kind of lagging in that area in terms of economic development. So what impact can economic development have on the future of the black community?
Well, first of all, for us to have economic impact in our community, we got to do our homework and make certain we're trying to do what people need and want. Okay? And second of all, we then, as we are retaining and hiring people, we got to tell them what's expected of them, and also at the same time mentor them and do that. Now, I feel we're getting a head start in Detroit soon before the program he's going to put together, but it's going to be under Michigan State's umbrella, so we're going to have that here in Lansing better too. And so what we just have to do is communicate with each other, and we can have, besides the day, we can have with your leadership to set up some kind of just meetings where we're just give and take discussions and work sessions. Okay, and so we can do that, and so we can adjust based on our goals how we put together our structure and our audience, and we can do that.
Very good. Another question on economic development. How can economic development in the community affect local policy? Economic development, how can it affect, what effect can it have on local politics? Economics and politics, how do they go together, if they go together?
If you have economic development.
Speaking to the mic.
Oh, excuse me very much. And I'm really sorry, was this Jennifer or Stacy or Dory? It's just like they just met me, isn't it? I knew it was one of you. But they're right. I can speak up at the mic. I'm sorry. What's the question?
The question was, how can economic development, and specifically in the black community, affect local politics?
Well, I'll tell you what. If we have economic development, the politicians are going to follow the money. And they're going to hook themselves up with people. No, I'll tell you what, people want to be around other successful people. And they want to be part of things that are successful, that mean something. And the politicians want to be part of something that they can embrace themselves and use that as they try to move their careers forward. And so they're not capable of going around bragging about nothing. They want to be able to brag about something. Okay? And like I said, it's the best way to get a job is to have it.
Break that down for us.
Huh?
So break that down.
If you have a job, then people want to hire folks who have one and see how they're doing. Okay. The best way I got Capital National Bank, president of the bank, Eddie Harden, sitting right there. Well, you know, and the bank is great for making loans, but the beauty about banks is everything. The best way to get some money is to have some. Now, you're going to the bank and you're asking for a loan, and while they're going to give you a loan, but they're going to ask for collateral, which means that you aren't dead broke, that you have something as a basis. Okay? Now, the thing that can get guys in trouble is this statement here. You know, the best way to get a girlfriend is to have one. Because if you didn't have someone's interested, you had no chance of getting anybody. Because anyone, because nobody else wanted. There's some of these ladies are looking around and they say, you know, he's kind of right. And then some of us who couldn't catch a cold, we knew that was the case. Okay?
Next question. You know, it's hard. It's difficult for some people to start a business and maintain a business. What type of, especially seems to be within the Black community, what type of support is needed for Black businesses to be successful?
You asked a question that I want to tell all of you that made a tremendous difference in my life. One day, two Black friends, Black guys, were trying to open up a business. And they wanted to open up what some of you are familiar with, Martin Luther King Drive, the Busy Bee, if you remember the Busy Bee. And they came to me, they went to me, and they asked me, they needed financing for the thing, but they had been to one of the banks here in town, and there was even a program that could make a loan for a business thing, and they got nothing from the bank. The bank showed no interest, they couldn't get any money, and so they stopped in to see me, and they told me their problem. And so at the time, we had apartments all across the state and the city, and we were using this bank, particular bank. They were having our money, it was our bank. So they had all this money that we were collecting for everything. So I went to the bank and I told them that here's the program, and if you can't make a loan to help these guys get started off in business, then I'm taking our money out of the bank. And so I took the money out of the bank, and they had the Busy Bee. And so, and one thing I try to practice myself is do something that doesn't cost you a lot, but for you do it for, it means a lot. And so I did that. And so 2 years later, was an RFP for where you also know where Capitol Commons is today. There was an RFP for all that property. And I get a call from one of the guys who owned the Busy Bee. He said, Joe, will you come over and see you? He said, I'm on the committee that's going to pick who wins the RFP. And he said, we're going to take the proposals, but here's how we're keeping score. We got a list of how the property should lay out, how the building should be, how this, everything else. So he gave me that roadmap. So I then went to my architect and said, look, here's how they're keeping score. So design our development right by their way they're laying out the keeping score. And so that's what we did. Well, shucks. No one could come catch me on the proposal, on the plan. So here was the case of I did the right thing, the same thing all of you here would have done for someone who you're in a position to help, who looked like us, and so I did it to him. That's all. I didn't ask for anything. And so years later, he remembered, and he came back and he said, here's how they're keeping score on who they're going to pick for the ends up being Capital Commons and everything there. And so I won because I had done the right thing, and I think in here, we're all going to do, if we're ever in a position, to help other individuals here in this room, to help them without expecting anything. But that then all of a sudden, people turn back around and they wash your hand, one hand washes the other. And so I think that was really
The next question kind of plays right into that. So the next question is what are some of the reasons businesses fail, and how do you overcome those circumstances?
well. One, they don't know their market. They don't have people who don't know how to treat people. And the key thing is this, that if you have a restaurant, people aren't going into the restaurant to save money. They're going into the restaurant to have an excellent meal with good service. And so you can always see those restaurants are kind of going out of business or not doing well because they raise their prices, cut their quality, and don't keep people around who know how to treat people. And so those are just certain common sense things that you really set the table to how people want to be. And you got to understand what you're into, why people are coming, something. Now, I'll tell you this, you got to know your audience. This young black guy one day was opening a restaurant. And I go to his restaurant, and I said, it's not going to last. And he said, why? I said, well, one thing, you were in a good area where people feel safe and comfortable. And so black folks like showing up and eating black and feel safe and comfortable. And so here, you're sitting here at the black restaurant, breast of chicken. Now, they don't need to come across town to come to your restaurant. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. You've got to know who your audience is and who your audience want and what you have for them. And I'm just telling you, I've never been in a soul food restaurant with breast of chicken. I just say you gotta. And another thing too. Years ago, I promoted the music concerts, and it was someone who none of you would go see, but I sold out because I wasn't trying to bring who you guys wanted. I was trying to get who everybody else would see. Jerry Lee Lewis, that's who I had. Hey, I didn't know who he was, except I knew that people were going to buy tickets. And so that's what I'm saying. That's the key thing, is know your audience. And decide that it's not you. It's people you're trying to get. That's the key thing.
Look for the opportunity. Yeah, I got you. Makes a lot of sense. I was looking at Google, and they said that you produced over 30,000 jobs. Is that at least? So let's talk about 30,000 jobs. And with that in mind, I'm sure you've hired a lot of people.
I have. I'm a good person in one way because I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you have a good story.
Well, the question I want to ask you is, how do you recognize good health?
You'll know. You can see. And they, after a while, if they're not good, they can't stay.
You ever have to let them?
But what you really want, if people in our business is that you're dealing with people. And the key thing is you want someone who you can keep, who at least knows how to treat people. And that's why I won't let my secretary screen my calls, because I don't want folks who, you know, and I don't want to make them uncomfortable.
Someone said speaking to the mic.
I said you might.
Oh, I don't want Stacy, Jennifer, or Dory. Okay, I'm sorry. You get someone else to get me now. Okay.
What advice would you give? We kind of covered this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What advice would you give those looking to start a business?
Well, to end up find out what you actually need. You know, what you want if there's an audience for it. But then also make it a point to call Eddie Harden or someone else, banks or whatever, and they will tell you when you go and make your proposal of what you want. And sometimes their no's are very helpful. Because when they tell you why at that time they can't, what you're proposing, they can't take, they're really telling you, they're giving you kind of a blueprint of how you can be successful. Because they'll end up telling you that when they say we can't do it, they will tell you what you need to do to make it work. Okay? So it doesn't hurt at all to find and go to that kind of a business and tell them what you're looking at, and you got to put a proposal together, and they'll tell you where the glitches are and where the problems are, and then you can then use that as a roadmap to get yourself started. And then having the right persons, if you end up having to have a lawyer or accountant, that having the people who are good in the field that you need, that how much they cost is not as big an issue as how good they're going to be. Yeah. Because someone who does it right for you is end up a lot cheaper than you've got all the stuff that you have another way. So, excuse me, Stacy and Joe and Jennifer. I'm sorry. Yes, I see you. Okay. Here's a dad who loves his daughters. And they're not bashful in telling their dad how they feel. Okay, thank you, girls.
I was going to ask you what your biggest achievement was, but I think we know.
I've had a number of areas that I'm very proud of in success. I loved the year that I ran Jesse Jackson's campaign when we were decided underdog, and we won the state 2-1, and I kicked everybody's tail and got everybody involved. I love that one. I loved raising a family. That's very important, and I love them being healthy and being excellent people. I love being elected chairman of the Michigan State for 12 years.
Chairman of the board.
And I just love being in good health, and I'm loving that I'm able to do things that people like and that they want to be part of. And I feel really proud that you invited me to be here this evening. So I want to thank you.
One or two more questions.
Yes, sir.
They sent me your resume, and it's very impressive. I mean, I can't even. We could be here all day just discussing your resume. But with all you've accomplished and all you've done, one thing I noticed is that you've developed over 3,400 units of housing. It's still growing, right?
Yes.
Still growing? Yeah. With the Red Cedar project and all of those?
Yeah. The Red Cedars, Christopher, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, well, Christopher, one thing you've got to do when you have a business or anything, you got to know what you don't know and what you don't like doing. And Christopher, he's done a great job picking up the pieces and covering all the nuts and bolts things that I'm very good at creating the rain, you know. But I'm just saying that, but I try to have people around me who definitely can cover the things that, you know, I can't, you know, I'm not good at. And I'm also good at hiring people. You know, I've not that I write in crayon, but for public relations and other thing, Terry's right here. So I've had very, you know,
Sam Miller.
Who?
Sam Miller, your caddy.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Sam?
He went outside.
Okay, well, Sam, that's good. I asked him I had him play in the tournament. We took it first, and I said, we're coming back, and maybe in Lansing, we house more seniors than anyone in Lansing. I mean, anyone between Capitol Commons, Friendship Manor, Riverfront, Elmwood, our development in Grand Ledge, and everything. And the one thing that I noticed with some of the tenants, which I don't want to be, and I have a number of tenants who wake up every morning waiting to go to bed. And so that's not me. I'm going to wake up every day with something that I have to go to, and something I want to work on, and something I want to do.
Bill Brown, come back up to close us out. I just want to thank you for your attention. Give yourself some round of applause. I hope you learned a lot. I know I did.
Was that excellent? That was excellent. I just want to let this be known that I'm going to be his new adopted son. So Dory and all y'all back there, hey, love y'all. Love y'all. Hey, I'll be there, trust me. And I'll be at that office soon. But hey, I appreciate you guys for coming out. This is everything, and you know, Black Wall Street and Lansing, this is what we've been trying to do for the longest. We're not trying to compete with nobody. We're trying to build collectively. So, you know, that's the reason why we've been having these think tanks. This is probably going to be our 7th one. We're going to have the next one that's going to be on financial literacy again, and then we're going to start getting right into mental health. Okay? So like I've been telling a lot of people, if you don't know what you got going on up here, come to the think tanks, network with people with like minds. All this energy in the room is gonna come out. It's gonna come out. So if you need help with business plans, talk to me. If you got problems with vision, talk to me. If you need help with getting out an idea, just talk to me. I'm a creative genius. This is what I do. This is exactly what I do, and I wanna make sure that I'm blessing people, because this right here was a blessing to me. He didn't have to come here. He didn't have to come here. He really did. He didn't have to come here. You know, so this is why I'm saying we have to start working together. We have to, y'all. I can't stress this enough. I post it all the time on Facebook. But if you guys don't come together, we're gonna lose. This is the time, after this COVID stuff gets over, and the George Floyd, you know, stuff goes down, watch what happens in 5 years. We have to come together. So if you guys need me, reach out to us on Black Wall Street in Lansing. We got a directory. We're looking for entrepreneurs. We're looking for web developers. We're looking for bankers. We're looking for investment. We're looking for everything that we can grow economics right now here in the city of Lansing. If you guys give me the time and you give me the resources, I can design a new Lansing with the help of Mr. Ferguson. I can do it. I can do it. So I just want to say thank you for coming out. Network, pass your business cards, do what you do. Let's talk. If you guys need to talk to me, I'm right here. I don't shun nobody, just like he does it. So I'm right here. So please, blackwallstreetoflansing.com is our website. If you have a business, we have a directory. So if you want your business out here in the community, let me know, okay? Anything else I need to say, Quisha? Yeah, connect with us on Facebook at Black Wall Street of Lansing and the website.com. Thank y'all for coming out. Ishmael, thank you.